SSI and supporting our military connected families and caregivers. In case you're joining us for the first time, I'd just like to give you a really brief tour of our webinar platform so you can find your way around. Hopefully you're currently able to view the slides that we're sharing. If you're unable to see them or if you have any other difficulties, which it may not be unheard of this morning, just go ahead and give us an email. Send us an email at contact@oneop.org for tech support, and I'll place that here shortly in the chat, the link for some tech support. As some of you have already done so, go ahead and type in the chat pod if you can. Let us know where you're joining us from. It makes this platform a little bit more personable. Um, Let us know where you're joining us from. If there's more than one of you in your office, if there's a group or team of you, or maybe where you're located, your organization or agency. And feel free to use that chat throughout today with questions or comments that you may have. To embed that chat pod, if you haven't already done so, so you don't miss any links or conversations, simply place your cursor over those shared slides. You'll then see a toolbar pop up across the bottom of your screen, and from there, just click that chat bubble icon. And when typing any questions or comments, please be sure to select that everyone from the response options drop-down menu so everyone's able to view them in that chat pod. And please note that the slides and resources today are available for download on the event page. I'll go ahead and pop that link in here in the chat here shortly. But I know everyone's going and typing real fast where they're from. So it's excited to see folks from Georgia, New York, Utah, Virginia. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us as we continue our partnership with the Department of Defense and the U.S. Department of Agriculture to expand that readiness, knowledge, and networks of the professionals supporting our military service members and their families. The views expressed in this presentation do not necessarily reflect the official policy of the Department of Defense, U.S. Department of Agriculture, U.S. government, or OneOp, and the mention of any entity or product is for informational purposes only. I'm excited to present or to introduce our presenter, excuse me, for today's webinar. She is not new to our OneOp group. We are excited that Rhonda has been willing to share her time and expertise. She began her career with Social Security Administration in 2001 as a supplemental security income claims representative. And in 2014, she became the public affairs specialist for New Mexico and part of West Texas, which is where you might have caught into the heat and humidity that she mentioned, that West Texas heat. Rhonda serves on the Social Security Administration's National Alaska Native and American Indian Committee as well, and the Dallas Regional Native American Working Group. Rhonda is a native of Santa Fe, New Mexico, and that's where she's currently residing. Without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and pass over the presenter reins to Miss Rhonda Romero.
Thank you.
Oh, Rhonda, you cut out there for just a second. If you want to go ahead and...
Oh, can you hear me okay now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that. We just have some connection stuff today. It must be that type of a day. I always blame it on it. I'm very lucky to have some friends. I consider them friends, but they're parts with the team out our region, which covers 5 states. Texas is included. New Mexico, where I live. I'm actually in Santa Fe, and Tony's in West Texas. Jason is in Austin, and they're going to be helping me with the chat. So I really appreciate. So what I'm going to do is when I get you started, we're going to give you a basic overview. Not too much information that will cloud your mind because it takes us 2 to 3 years just to grasp our job. We're considered trainees for that long, but enough where you'll be able to tell the difference between each program. And then that way, when you're ready to file or help your clients file, you'll know which program they need or understand or be able to ask when you call the office. And usually everybody is very friendly and they will work with you, even if you don't always get the names right with our programs. let's see, and do I have control of the slides?
You do, Rhonda.
Okay, let me see what's going on. It doesn't seem to be letting me move forward with them on my end. I don't know what I'm hitting wrong. So I may have to tell you next slide, or is it me moving them?
You're moving the slides, Rhonda.
Oh,
It
good. Thank
may
you.
have a lag, but you
I'm
should
gonna
be okay.
switch and get, you may hear some background noise because I am on a little screen on my end. My government computer made me use a little tiny Surface computer. It didn't like Zoom this morning, so this will be better. But you'll hear some background noise. I apologize. So Social Security Disability Insurance, what is that? That is one of the programs we have. We have two types of disability. Social Security Disability Insurance is what you pay in. It's the money that you're paying in through your Social Security taxes. Those FICA taxes, when you pay in, get you insured. And I'm going to explain a little bit more on that. But first, I'm switching. So with Social Security, our definition of disability is pretty black and white. We are not like the VA, workers' comp, where they do percentages. With Social Security, it's all or nothing. So you're 100% disabled from doing any type of substantial work. And we don't do that, 30%, 40%. It's got to be that 100%. We don't do partial disability payments. It's the full amount. So it does take a while to get the medical decision. So what we look at it as a person who cannot work due to a severe medical condition that has lasted or is expected to last at least 1 year. It has to be a condition that's going to last 1 year. That doesn't mean you have to wait 1 year with the condition before you file. It just means the diagnosis has that in it or result in death. So it's also got to prevent them from doing substantial gainful employment. And that's work that they've done in the past, and it has to prevent them from adjusting to any other work. So, if you were in accounting and you get a type of disability that's affecting you there, you can't be able to go move into something else, maybe like construction. They're going to look at things like that. So what are the requirements for getting disability benefits? And to be eligible, you have to meet two different earnings tests. And we look at this, a recent work test and a duration of work test. Now, what is this? I look at this and I compare it to car insurance. You've got to be actively paying into Social Security in order to qualify for this program. The next program we're going over, that's different. And so I think of it like, well, if you pay for your car insurance, if you stop paying, it's going to expire after a while. That's the same with disability. But with disability insurance, the criteria and the work amount of time is lower. So some people think, oh no, I'm 50 and I became disabled and I haven't worked 10 years. And they're thinking more of the retirement benefit. They're thinking those 10 years of work, getting in enough quarters for retirement. We're different with disability. So this shows the list. So this is what you need. The right part is what you're going to need within the time frame you become disabled. So somebody that's 28 years old and becomes disabled, we know they're probably not going to already have put in 10 years of work, where it was substantial and they got those 4 quarters each year, especially if they worked part-time in college. Age 30, it's a bit less. So it doesn't cover all situations, but it gives you a little idea of the years needed to get insured for Social Security disability. Now, the thing about this is it has to be recent. So you don't want to become disabled and stop working, wait 8 years before you come and file with us, because by then those quarters will expire. They do expire for disability insurance. Then we would have to try to go backwards and look at some other timeframes for you. So that's just basic. I just wanted you to focus on the part that Social Security disability insurance is based on your Social Security taxes you pay into the system. It's based on your money. That is how the amount is calculated. With age, with the amount that's been paid in, the amount of years worked before they became disabled. That's what that is. When should you apply for this? Now, processing is taking about 6 to 8 months for an initial claim. Some states take a little longer. If I'm right, Tony and Jason are both in Texas. It's averaging, I believe, a year in Texas, unless it's gone down. And that's just for the initial part of the claim. If you go into any type of appeal, it takes a little bit longer. So Social Security actually has a guide on how we determine the disability, the medical aspect of the claim. And what this does is it helps physicians and other professionals get an understanding on the disability programs we offer. So the two we're explaining today, and it also helps them with making determinations and decisions on the claims. Like, what can they furnish to help this individual? It lists the specific criteria that the claimants who have a disability can be eligible. It tells you right there in black and white how the system works, what diagnosis gets considered for disability. Maybe one doesn't, but maybe if you have another one, it does. They look at age, they look at if you can continue a certain type of work, even if it's simple work. So I advise, if you go to the bottom of that, that is a great resource. It's only available online because it's changed, but it gives you exactly what types of disabilities can possibly be approved with Social Security. So how do you apply for disability benefits? There's two ways. You can go online, or you can give us a call and make an appointment with your local office. So both of these need an appointment. It does take at least an hour when you file a disability claim, when you call and schedule with us. Online, you can start, and then if you stop, we give you an access code to get back in, and you can take a breather from it. Now, right now, appointments are booked out about 2 months, almost every office that I know of with Social Security. So filing online, by the time you would be able to get an appointment scheduled in the office, your claim could already be getting assigned at Disability Determination Services. That's the state agency that we use to make that decision. Each state has their own disability determination services. Social Security contracts with them. They're the state agencies that do workers' comp and other types of state disability benefits. I believe Texas, theirs is there in Austin. And in New Mexico, we have ours in Albuquerque. So we look at a lot of stuff. We're very nosy when people come into the office, just so you know, we're pretty nosy. And we ask if you're working, is your condition severe? Does it medically meet a listing? Now, the listing means that comes from that blue book. It's all the listings that are in that blue book, all the medical ones, you know, the ones with all the numbers. Can you do the work you did before? But can you do any other type of work? So, you know, like I mentioned earlier, you may have been an accountant, but maybe you could go do something in hotel business, something, you know, physical. You can't do something because it affects you mentally. Maybe you could do something physically or vice versa. They're going to look at all of that. Once we get everything together and your application is submitted, whether you do it online or you do it in the office, it's going to be reviewed. So we get together information like, where did you work before? What did you do at that job? How many years did you do that? We ask about what doctors have you seen? What tests have you done? What medications do you take? Then we get a little more detailed and we'll ask you about your daily functioning. And we'll even ask a friend or a relative who you tell us to contact about your daily activities. But if you meet the first two requirements, we're going to forward the case. So our state disability determination office, I'm going to call it DDS from now on, can make the medical decision. We also look at if you've worked long enough. That's a main thing. A lot of individuals don't realize maybe they worked, but like I said, maybe they stopped working 8 years ago. Maybe they got VA and they didn't need the income or didn't think about filing for Social Security back at that time for disability. And 8, 9 years later, they've stopped working and those quarters have expired. You run out of them after a certain amount of time. So that's why it's always good to start filing. Once your work goes down, you stop working, you want to get a claim filed. So once we send it to Disability Determination Services, we review everything. We check and see that you're not working at full time, because if you're earning over a certain amount, which we consider substantial gainful activity, then we don't even pursue the claim. And so each year that changes. So, 400 days in Texas, a little bit longer than a year. Then we send it off to Disability Determination Services. They're going to look at everything. They reach out to your doctors. They gather all the medical information from the sources you told us. So whoever you told us to contact, that's who they're going to be contacting. Once it's there, there are some things that maybe can get the case flagged and flown through faster. Compassionate allowances, there's certain type of diseases and conditions that if they meet the listing of impairments on minimal medical information, like they get the diagnosis from the doctor, but they're not diving in past that because they see it's a certain disease or condition that is on our compassionate allowances list, then this flies the claim through and it goes to the top of the pile, is what I like to say. It's not separate, but it does get the case pushed through a little bit faster. And so if you go to our website, there's lots of links on all of these slides. It's going to tell you the listing of those compassionate allowances. They go a little bit faster than other claims. Another type of claim that speeds through is wounded warriors and veterans. So wounded warriors and veterans with 100% permanent and total disability rating from the VA may be able to get an expedited medical decision on SSDI and SSI, which I'm going to cover soon. Applications. So what does this mean? If we find out you are receiving 100% permanent and total disability from the VA, we flag that claim and we try to get you scheduled within a week, even shorter. So you may call, we're like, oh, we're booked 2 months out. But then once you mention that rating and we can verify it on our system, we schedule you within a few days. It doesn't mean an approval because VA has very different criteria than Social Security. Social Security is looking if you can do any type of work. VA looks more at is the disability service connected and how it affects you. But it gets your claim also put moved to the front of the line. So you will get a faster decision if you are 100% permanent and total, or if you're under a wounded warrior. And I've seen it happen. I will be scheduling the claim. It interfaces with the VA and it tells me you got to get this claim done within 3 days. So always have, if you're having somebody schedule and they're on those type of ratings, please have them mentioned to us right away. Now, once it goes for the decision, once Disability Determination Services looks at it, they'll send a letter. And they're going to also send a letter to your My Social Security account. So if you filed online, you're going to see the progress they're making with your claim. If you're approved, you're going to receive a mailed letter from the agency. It's also going to pop up on the My Social Security account. It's going to let you know for SSDI, it's going to tell you when your payments are going to start and what you have to tell us about. You have to tell us if you have any more minor children, if you go back to work. We need to know those things. We also need to know about workers' compensation because it could affect your payment with us. So if you're not approved, we're still going to tell you some information. We're going to send you a letter. It's also going to go on your account, and we're going to explain why you were denied and how to appeal if you don't agree with it. We have many appeal levels. So if you're recently denied for Social Security Disability or SSI, Supplemental Security Income, you have 60 days to get that appeal in. We give you more like 65 days from the date of the letter because we give you some time for mailing time. You can appeal online, or you can get the forms, drop them off, or mail them to your local office. If you're denied on the initial stages, then it goes into a reconsideration. If you're denied on the reconsideration, that's where somebody else looks, a completely different person reviews your claim. If you're denied on that, then you go to what we call an ALJ. And so that is a judge. That is our appeals judge, and they will look at the claim. It takes a little bit longer, but you will get to sit in front of a judge. If the judge denies you, you can go even higher than that, and you go to appeals council level. So all of these stages do take a while. It's taking a while lately because we have a lot more people filing now. So if you're on SSDI, and I'm going to speed this up a little bit so we get time for questions, who can also file for benefits? So your spouse, SSDI at age 62, and at any age, if they're caring for a child who's under 16 or has a disability, some divorced spouses may be eligible for SSDI. A child, so your child can get on benefits. If your child is not married under the age of 18 or still in high school, or not married and has a disability that started before age 22, a disability under our rules, they possibly can get on your benefits. So if you're getting $1,000 and you have one minor child under age 18, your child is eligible for approximately 50% of your amount. It doesn't take away from your money, it just adds to it. And they're eligible for it if they meet these criteria to continue on.
Rhonda, we did have a few questions that have come through, and I don't know if this is something that you can answer now or if you'd prefer to hold them.
Whatever works for you.
Okay. And I didn't want you to have to go back too far, but when you were referencing the wounded warriors and veterans and talking about that 100% permanent and total disability ratings, is that true as well for those, that 100% for individuals with PTSD, depression, and anxiety?
Yes, as long as it's that 100% permanent and total disability rating. We don't necessarily look at what the condition is. It's more that it has to be 100%.
And with the VA's 100% permanent and total disability, does it require the individual to have a minimum work year for SSDI?
Yes. So they still have to have that recent work I was talking about, depending on their age and so many years. It's usually about, if they're a little bit older, it's about 5 years, 5 out of 10 years that they will have to work in between that time. So let's say if you, for easy math, became disabled in 2025, you would have had to have had those quarters current that I was showing you on that list within the last 10 years. You don't want those to expire. So yeah, they still need those quarters in order to file. And if you go to our website and you go into Wounded Warrior, and I can actually send Rachel some pamphlets that she can be able to forward on them. It'll explain that we do have a lot of veterans that wait too long. And then by the time they come to us, their quarters have expired. I always say their insurance has expired. And so we can't always go back and get into that.
Okay. And that becomes a process similar for non-military as well, correct? Non-military families. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure. So I got to delete that. And I'm so glad that I have Tony and Jason answering questions, especially since we ran a little bit behind. It's going to help. So with Social Security, can you work and receive benefits? Yes, but there are some rules. Once you get approved, you've got to watch these. Even during the application, if you start working over our substantial gainful activity amount, which is different each year, you may have your claim stopped if they see, well, they're performing. We're just going to stop their claim during the initial stages while you're getting a decision made. After you get approved, there's different rules. So you can work with DVR. We also have work incentives, work programs that you could do. We want you to get back to work. So there are some agencies that work with us in order to help you with this. Now, we need to always know when you work because we've got to keep track of it. And the reason is because if you become able to work over a substantial gainful activity amount, then we may not consider you disabled. So you got to keep track of that. And that's what happens kind of to a lot of people. They do start working, they kind of think they're going to keep the disability forever, but then we find out that they've been working for maybe a year or more, didn't tell us, and they've been working over $1,620 a month in 2025 is considered substantial gainful activity. And then it goes into medical reviews and, hopefully their benefit won't be stopped. We allow 9 months. Once somebody gets approved, they're allowed to work 9 months over that amount. Then it goes into some other computations, but we do want people to work. So there we go. Continuing disability review. What is that? That is, once you get on benefits, we go and review your case every so many years. And it's usually between 3 or 7 years. It depends on the severity of your condition. Once that happens, we'll reach out to you. You don't have to reach out to us. It's a, don't call us, we'll call you situation. And we'll review it. And it's similar to when you first started. We need to know all the doctors you've seen, medical information. Pretty much that same application is in the beginning. And then the Disability Determination Services Unit looks at it again And then you just get a letter saying, hey, we consider you still disabled. You will continue on. So now this just started. We have an online form. So before this wasn't on there. So if you get a medical review, you can actually submit it to us online. We're really trying to get towards the online stuff just because when people submit it, it goes right into our system and we can find it in there. No risk of lost paper, but we also will take the paper forms too. We mail them both ways. So just so you know, if you know somebody that's on disability and they have a My Social Security account, have them check it because we are going to send them a letter to let them know we're going to be doing this both on their account and both by snail mail. SSI. I'm going to do a quick overview of SSI. What is that? That's our needs-based program. It's a welfare-based disability program. SSDI comes from your money. That is the money you paid into the system, similar to retirement. Uses a similar computation, but it's money you paid in through your FICA taxes. Supplemental security income, this comes out of the general funds. This is the general funds from Congress. So this is a little bit different. I always say SSI is like a nosy ant. It's so nosy. We want to know where you live, who you live with, how much money do you have, what things do you own, everything. And that's just before we can do the medical decision with SSI. SSDI, we just care, are you working full-time? Okay, then we probably can't file this claim. Or, oh, you've never worked, you don't have enough quarters to file for SSDI. SSI is different. It's for people that don't have those quarters paid in. Maybe they were lower earners or, self-employed, had a different type of work history. And children can also get SSI. So, but it's first we look at that non-medical criteria, limited income and resources. And then we dive deeper. Oh, also, if somebody is 65 and older, maybe they didn't pay enough into Social Security, maybe they were self-employed, like I said, or just had really low earnings and never got those 10 years in. Well, they can file for SSI if they meet the criteria of income and resources. So this is what we look at. Money you receive, wages, Social Security benefits, pensions, any type of cash, we look at that. Because the maximum amount you can get on SSI is $967 a month. So any type of money you get can reduce that payment. And if you get more money than that payment is, well, you're not going to qualify. Things you own. If you have over $2,000 in resources, you're not eligible for SSI. We exclude your home, regardless of value. We exclude your vehicle, regardless of value. So you could have a brand new Corvette and a really nice house and nothing else to your name. And no bank accounts, you may qualify for SSI. We look at this for people that can't qualify on SSDI. You also need to live in these areas. If you're not a U.S. citizen, but you're lawfully residing in the U.S., you still may be able to get SSI. There's some different rules for that. We look at income, we look at wages, net earnings from self-employment, and payment for services in the sheltered workshop. Now, earned for the wages we look at, we go on gross wages. If it's self-employment, we look at net in order to get you signed up for SSI. Unearned, it means just that you're not actually earning. So somebody may have worked enough, but they're getting a lower SSA benefit from SSDI or retirement if they're over 65. Well, we look at that too. It can't be over that 967 amount. Veterans benefits affect SSI. They don't affect SSDI. We love to confuse you with our acronyms, our love language. Unemployment benefits will affect SSI. Interest pensions and cash from family and friends. So what are considered resources? Bank accounts, a second car is going to affect you, life insurance policies with a cash surrender value, and property. If you own a home, we exclude it if you're living in it. But let's say you own a parcel of land across the street separate from your property, we're going to count that as a resource. And if it's worth over $2,000, then it's probably going to keep you from getting SSI. So there's a lot of stuff we look at. Now, if you're married, it's you and your spouse, we give you a little more assets to work with, $3,000. If it's just you, you're looking at $2,000. Now, children with parents, it goes up higher. I believe it's $4,000 for one parent in the home and $5,000 limit for two parents in the home. And that's resources. Also for children, we look at their parents' wages. For spouses, we look at the spouse's wages when we look into SSI. We also look at where do they live? Are they in someone else's home? Are they paying rent? Are they paying their fair share? Or are they just living there? Maybe it's the mom and she's not charging them anything. That could lead to a lowered SSI benefit if they're not meeting their fair share. But if they're paying somebody rent, they're meeting their expenses, they can get the full amount possibly. If someone is in an institution, if someone is in long-term residential care, a nursing home long-term, their benefit goes down to just $30 a month because SSI sees that their food, clothing, shelter needs are being met. So $30 is for essentials. That's why that payment goes down if they're in a long-term care facility. So there are a lot of factors in this, and like, I don't know if I mentioned, it takes us 2 to 3 years to just learn our job. We're considered baby claim specialists, and it's because of all these rules and criteria. So please don't, if your head's spinning, just know it takes us a while to get the gist of our programs too. So you got to report a lot of things to Social Security when you're on benefits, SSI especially. Any income, any changes, someone moves in, you get married, someone moves out. Maybe one child you don't have custody of anymore. We need to know about that. We need to know if you go to the casino, like here in New Mexico, there are lots of casinos and people win, and then we don't hear about their winnings till the next year. And then we find out we overpaid them for 3 months because they won so much money. So you can report wages online. There's also an app that can be used. If that neither the reporting doesn't work on your online account or our mobile wage reporting app, you can do it the old school way of sending us your check stubs every month into the office. Lots of things to report. And I went over a bunch of those. But it is what we need to know, like I said. Also, if you go to jail for an extended time for at least a month or more, you don't get a payment from Social Security. And the reason is because we feel you're in jail, your food, clothing, shelter needs are being met. So those general funds that money comes from aren't going to pay you while you're getting covered under something else with a government program. Also, if you have an unsatisfied felony warrant and you're fleeing, we don't pay you SSI. So here we go, leading into that. You need to tell us if you have an outstanding warrant, if you're convicted of a crime or you violate your parole or probation, because that can stop your Social Security benefits. So you go to prison, you're on SSDI and SSI, maybe you're doing both, benefits stop immediately. Now, children can file for SSI if it's a child under 18 or under age 22 but regularly attending school, they can file for SSI. Here are the requirements. Of course, the child has to have a disability or be blind. The child has to have a condition lasting 12 months or more or could result in death. Can be a mental or a physical impairment that's marked with severe limitation in functioning. Now, with us as adults, they're looking at can you work and what type of work you can do. With children, of course, they can't look at that because they're not going to make them go get a job. What they do is they're looking at their functioning, their daily functioning. How do they do at school? Do they have a learning disability? Do they have issues with anger, with control, socialization, maybe autism? They're going to look at all of that. So it's a different medical criteria for children. Now, children's income, the income that affects a child directly is child support, Social Security benefits, maybe a parent passed away or a parent's receiving disability or retirement and the child gets some money from that. That's going to affect their SSI benefit. Child support, it's only a third of it. So we still look at income and assets for children because we have deeming, meaning the parents and the family income and assets trickle down to each other. So the parents and income affect the child. What the parent owns and what the parent receives in money each month will affect the child. It's deemed down, it's trickled down, so but it does affect them. We also look at custody. So if one parent doesn't have custody, the parent that does, that's whose income and assets we're going to be looking at, who the child lives with primarily. Now, when they turn 18, we do a new determination. At that point, those medical reviews that you saw, we are going to give them a medical review, but now it is in adult criteria, and now we don't count the resources of the parent. So if an individual maybe has to do a application and their parents make too much money, but once they turn 18, they're good. And we don't have to count that. So some kids, with mom and dad, maybe can't apply for SSI because mom and dad have too much stuff, too much income, too much assets. But once they turn 18, we're not going to look at that, even if the child is still living with the parents. If somebody is homeless, we also will flag that claim. So an individual with no permanent living arrangement, they couch surf, they, don't have a permanent place to lay their head, meaning, oh, I sleep here at my mom's one night, I sleep on the street one night, I'm in a shelter another night. That's what we consider homeless. They don't have a permanent place. So we will flag their claims so the decision goes a little faster just because we know the homeless population moves around a lot and we want to make sure if DDS needs to schedule them a consultative exam that we work fast and keep them in the same town until the decision is done. You can begin the process online to file for SSI. You may be eligible to complete it online if you got to be over 18 and up to 65. So online, you've never been married, a U.S. citizen, haven't applied or received SSI benefits in the past, and are applying for Social Security disability insurance the same time of your claim. So you have to file this SSDI claim in order to get an SSI claim into our system. Our system's still working on it, but if you go online, file the SSDI claim first and then the SSI claim. And this is for adults. For children under age 18, you want to visit and let us know that you want to apply. You want to schedule an appointment. You can start it online by completing these reports, and then a representative is going to contact you and we're going to schedule an appointment to finish up that application for the children under 18. We send this off to DDS. DDS gets all the medicals, just like they do with SSDI. They get a hold of all the medical providers that were listed to us. We only look at the ones that were listed. So they don't dig deep into your medical information. And if there was a doctor that you didn't mention you saw, they may not contact the doctor. So more is always better in this situation. And then the DDS may need some more information. They may ask you to fill out a function report, like I mentioned earlier, about your daily functioning requirements. How do your day-to-day activities, what you can and cannot do. I don't get out of bed till 11 o'clock. I make myself lunch, but it's very simple. It's, soup, canned soup, nothing extreme. And then I'm exhausted. I barely run my errands. Have people get detailed when they're filing those function reports. So we do have SSI requirements for non-citizens. They have to meet 2 requirements to be potentially eligible for SSI in a qualified alien category and other eligibility, which is the income and resource criteria. We also have ticket to work. So individuals that get on disability can get help with training and other services at no cost to them. This is in order to help them maybe start their own business, do some sort of self-employment. And there's other programs involved. You would just go to this choosework.ssa.gov. Once everything's done, DDS tells you the decision, and same thing like earlier, just like with SSDI, they're going to send you a letter saying why you weren't approved, and they're going to send you a letter why you were approved. With SSI, you'll get that medical letter saying you were approved medically, but then the field office gets it back, and we've got to determine that payment. So we're going to do a review with you of everything since you first filed the application, because it may be 6 or 7 months down the line. We've got to update everything. So we do have ABLE accounts. What is that? This is connected directly to SSI, and each state has these accounts. What do? It's a better way than a lot of people used to do special needs trusts, but an ABLE account actually works a little bit better because there's a lot more exclusions with this, and it allows people. It's only limited to individuals who became disabled before turning 26. So it's usually starts with disabled children, and it allows them to save into this tax advantaged account. Similar to the 529 college savings accounts, you usually see those on TV. Each state has their own program. In New Mexico, it's called the Stable program. So you can save up to 100 grand in these, but they have to cover qualified disability expenses. So housing, education, healthcare, assistive technology. It's a really good program, and hopefully people start using it very soon. I've only seen good things from it, and it's easier for us because we know it's excluded. Sometimes people don't know the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. Medicare connected to SSDI. So that's the benefit you paid into the program. Once people get on the benefit, 2 years after you receive payment on SSDI, it gets you qualified for Medicare, which is great. Even if you're 30 years old, but you're on SSDI, you're going to get Medicare after 2 years of benefits. Getting on the SSDI program. Medicaid, that's state health insurance. Medicare is federal, Medicaid is state. Each state runs their own Medicare program. And if you get SSI, even if you're getting $1 because you have other income, you get Medicaid. No matter what. If we pay you $1 of SSI each month, you're going to get Medicaid. And that's state run. So usually Medicaid covers more than Medicare, but it runs state to state, where Medicare is federal, so it can be accepted more places. There also is a premium with Medicare. It's $185 base. Medicaid, there's no premium. A representative payee is somebody that, let's say someone has a disability and DDS doesn't feel they're capable of managing their money. Incapable, different than incompetent, incapable. Maybe there's a lot of mental disorders, schizophrenia. So they want someone to help them with their benefit. So Social Security tells the individual they can choose somebody, will bring somebody to apply to be their payee. We investigate these individuals. We make sure they don't have felonies, they don't have misdemeanors related to larceny, theft, abuse. And, you know, if one or two people apply, we choose the person that we feel would best take care of this individual's needs. We're not going to let, you know, somebody that they just met 2 weeks ago at a park be their payee. We prefer family members that they trust, or a close friend, or an organization. A lot of people have organizational payees. So that's an important note there. We now have advanced designation of representative payees. So when people apply for retirement and disability, they can choose up to, I believe it's 3 people that they would want to be their payee. It's not saying that they're going to be their payee, but in case the situation arises, maybe somebody gets dementia later in life, and they have said, I want these 3 people to help me with my benefit. Social Security will take the application from them if they come and apply, and then we choose the best one for them. Also, I always mention this no matter what type of presentation. Sorry it's taking so long. The Social Security number and card. If you need a replacement card, this is the easiest way to do it. You still can go into the office, of course, but it's easier to do it online and get this started. If you need help from us, you can call our national number, or you can call your local office. If you can't find your closest office, go to ssa.gov locator and you put in your zip code, and it's going to get you the closest office where you live. This is what our screen looks like. We've simplified it. It used to be.
Rhonda, I think your audio just caught out for just a second. If you want to go ahead and try muting and unmuting. All right, Rhonda, I think we're unable to hear you at the moment. Okay, so we just lost our prisoner on the line. Tony or Jason, are you unable to unmute?
Can you hear me?
You sound great. Thank you, Tony.
Sure. I just don't have control of the slides, but we're pretty much at the end. I think there's just like 3 left. Here, this is our website, ssa.gov. It's been recently designed. Well, it's been a couple of years now. We try to put everything right on the home page. Right there in the middle of the page, you can click apply for benefits. Request a social security card right there in the middle, request a replacement card, apply for first card, social security card for the first time. Now we're getting a lot of questions. We're trying to type as fast as possible. Hopefully at the end of the presentation, we'll have time as well. But on that website too, there's a link for publications. And we encourage you to go online, create a My Social Security account. If you receive benefits, you can change your address, change your direct deposit, get a replacement 1099. And next page there, if you don't receive benefits, you can check out your retirement estimates, disability estimates. Like I said, apply for that Social Security card and get proof of income as well if you are receiving those benefits. And next slide there. There we go. And that is the end of the presentation. We do encourage you to follow us on our social media links. That'll be the last slide, I believe. There we
All
go, on our
right.
Facebook, X, and so forth. You can follow us there for up-to-date policy and new available online tools.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it. If y'all don't mind staying on, Tony and Jason, just a few minutes in case we have any questions that come through, that would be great. What I'll go ahead and do at the moment, because I know there are several folks that are needing to hop off for other meetings, so I'm going to briefly go over the CE's information. But if you have questions, please type them in the chat. While we have Tony and Jason on, we'll go ahead and try and get those answered for you real fast. But as we close out our webinar, I wanted to briefly go over our CE information. I know that's always important to everyone that's on. We have several opportunities to receive one CE credit from today's session. So if you're a accredited financial counselor, a case manager, disability management specialist, a patient advocate, family life educator, I know we have several certified health education specialists on. This one's for you. Family consumer science as well, and our personal and family finance educators and personal finance counselors. Lots of CEs for you and our social workers, LPCs, LMFTs. What you're going to need to do is you will refresh the event page today. So the event link that you have on file, I want you to go ahead and refresh that page. There will be a purple button that appears on that website. If you don't see it just yet, be patient with us. But I will go ahead and post that link in the chat as well for everyone to see. You'll see a continue education button. You will need to complete the survey first. So you will need to complete that survey first. You will be prompted to then select which CE option, or if you're just needing a certificate of attendance, you'll have that option as well. You will be sent an automatically generated email certificate. If you encounter any issues, which will not be unheard of for today, I'm going to go ahead and put my direct email in the chat. So if you have any tech issues with receiving your CE information, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to help and provide some assistance to you as well. Go ahead, go to that event page, continue education button will be there for you to get started and go through that process. Again, go ahead and reach out to me if you have any questions or need some additional assistance as well. If we can go, and if you don't see that continue education button pop up, either refresh your page or give it a minute for it to pop up. And I'm going to see if there is a direct link that can be provided as well. So one moment. Okay, so some people are confirming that they are now seeing it there. That's a good sign. All right. I'm going to go ahead and post that direct survey link in the chat for you now. So if you're unable to click that purple button or see that continue education button on the page, I went ahead and posted a direct link to that evaluation in the chat for you to access. Again, if you encounter any issues, feel free to shoot me an email and I'm happy to provide some assistance for you. All right, so let's go ahead and briefly go over our upcoming events that we have. We're really excited. So the month of August and September, we're going to be going through our Military Family Readiness Academy. We're excited to bring together family service providers from multiple disciplines to address a topic important to the military family readiness system. And so this year, we're going to be bringing together some experts and professionals like yourselves to address some key challenges facing military youth well-being. And so over the course of 6 weeks, OneOp is going to deliver a series of professional development webinars. So starting this month, actually, we are going to be providing or kicking off with our expert panel discussion. And then following that, we're going to have 3 webinars to go along with it. So if you want to find out more information on this Academy series, I'm going to go ahead and pop that link as well into the chat. I'm just going to overwhelm y'all with all these links. I apologize, but we're going to stay on for just a few more minutes so you can gather any last minute links. Join us this month and into September as we talk about youth well-being for our OneOp Military Family Readiness Academy. And if you can go to the next slide, you can actually see a breakdown of these dates for your reference. So our first session is going to be August 27th, followed by September 10th and September 24th. If you go ahead and click on that Academy link in the chat, you'll find out more information, how to get registered, lots of CEs as well. So those of you that are looking for those CEs, get connected on that Academy website.